You've never worked harder in your life. You've invested a lot of time, talent, and more than likely treasure, your blood, sweat, and tears into growing your business. Live from Crystal Pig Studios in Fairport, New York, it's another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Tim with your hosts Mark Blood and Tim Mason. An informative, engaging, we hope you find entertaining podcast that offers you, the business owner, partner, senior level manager, serial entrepreneur, or just the new kid on the block, interesting information and perspectives on a host of timely topics, from finance, HR, marketing, and healthcare, to starting up and winding down, all to help you better manage and hopefully grow your business.
Are you ready? BST on 3!
BST!
Welcome to Blood, Sweat, and Tim. I'm Tim Mason, and I'm here with my podcast partner in crime, Mr. Mark Blood. Say hello, Mark.
Morning, Tim.
Welcome to our first episode, ever episode of Blood, Sweat, and Tim. I like to call it Episode 1 for all you Star Wars fans. And we're ready to go. So why Blood, Sweat, and Tim? I did hear someone ask us that, didn't you, Mark?
Yeah, I think some people have wondered if we're a little crazy doing this, but I think we both agreed that it was time to do something interesting in our lives right now.
Well, I think you and I both know, as small business owners ourselves and as leaders of two companies who help support the small business community, you in public accounting and corporate financial management arenas, and myself in brand development and marketing, so many small business owners and senior managers have really put their blood, sweat, and tears into their businesses to help them grow. They work hard every day. And so the idea of providing advice and doing it under the guise of Blood, Sweat, and Tim, I think hopefully will help them let their businesses grow.
I think this will be a very cool experience for all of us, and Tim and I really hope that the content of our podcast is going to be enlightening to many business owners, small business owners. This concept started to kick off with Tim and I a number of years ago. When we'd sit down and he'd have a ginger ale and I'd have a beer, and we'd talk about what was going on in each other's business. And out of those conversations came the idea of doing this podcast and featuring some of the cool and interesting businesses that are located in Western New York and in Rochester.
Yeah, we do have the opportunity to do some really good business with some really great companies, don't we, Mark?
Yeah, we do. I often say that in my role as a partner in a public accounting firm, that oftentimes...
We won't hold that against you, Mark.
Yeah, I haven't done anything bad yet. But as my role in a public accounting firm, I oftentimes think that I know more about my clients and know more about what's interesting to them than maybe their doctor might even know. And that's the interesting part of what I do, is that you really realize what motivates people and what's of interest to them. Oftentimes we think it's just purely financial, but many times it's about the gratification of being able to get a business up off the ground and really see something that flourishes and is an exciting addition to the community.
Yeah, I was very fortunate a few years back to be president of the Small Business Council of Rochester, and I witnessed firsthand exactly what you're talking about. Talked to a lot of companies who, needed support in human resources and accounting and marketing and, all the major areas that a business needs for their operations. And it was so nice with a few years of experience and a little gray hair to be able to help them or point them in the direction to that support. And, I know that's what we want to try and accomplish here with these podcasts.
Tim mentioned that he was the president of the Small Business Council, and I think that's one of the ways that he's been able to give back to the community. That's an important leadership role, and one of the things that we hope to feature in this podcast is local not-for-profits and what their mission and what their message is, and give them a little bit of the spotlight so that people in the Rochester community really understand what they're trying to do to better our community. And hopefully we'll have the opportunity in this podcast to spread a little of the good word.
Yeah, well, hopefully, certainly there's some credibility for our respective companies by us doing this podcast. But to your point, this is about featuring small businesses and people who can help small businesses in our community. And again, providing that support to our not-for-profit organizations in the area. I know, Mark, you've been very involved with the Diabetes Association, having a son with diabetes, and I have a sister who has developmental disabilities, and I kind of focus a lot of my efforts on that as well. So giving them just a few minutes of time to talk about their organizations in this venue, and hopefully people will respond favorably to that and maybe support them in turn.
From Mark Blood and Tim Mason, thanks for listening to this edition of Blood, Sweat, and Tim. We hope you'll keep putting your blood, sweat, and tears into your business, and that you'll join us for our next BST podcast.